Well, I'm not too mad at you because I went with another really young. She's a superstar now. Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
Is man this year. So she lose the title to Becky Lynch SummerSlam last year.
Yeah.
26 seconds or whatever. And it was horrible. Worst way ever that you would put over Becky Lynch. If she's not ready to wrestle a match, you could have set it up in so many different ways for her to lose that match up to Becky Lynch, where you didn't make Bianca look like an idiot. But you did make her look like an idiot. And I feel like someone in the back realized, like, oh my God, we made Bianca like an idiot. And for the next year, people, that's all they talked about. Bianca lost in 26. Aha, look how they do the black girl wrestler. For the next year, you can count on your one hand, how many times Bianca been pinned or submitted.
She looked very strong.
On the best female run that I've seen probably since China.
Yeah.
So when it was kind of like, we messed up. We knew we messed up. And I feel like for all the people who said that and then didn't acknowledge the fact that they booked her on this crazy run that she's still currently on, I'm like, you're kind of assholes. Like, say when it's right, say when it's wrong. That's fine.
Yeah. They've done a fantastic job with her. She's done a fantastic job.
She's amazing, dude.
I wish she was a little bit better on the mic, but it doesn't take away from that charisma factor. She's very, very charismatic. I don't want to compare her to like Bret Hart, but no, I'm not. But my point is, Bret wasn't very good on the mic either. But he was still a charismatic dude.
I think Bianca's better than Bret on the mic, actually.
Bianca is better. There's something about her mic work to me that sounds a little off.
You know what it is? I feel like it depends on when she's talking and who she's talking to. When she goes out there and cut her own promo by herself and build up the match, it's fine. It's perfect. It's good. When she's talking to someone like Becky Lynch, who might go off script a little, and she's like, man, I don't know how to rebuttal that because that's not what we rehearsed, Or if she's talking to Bayley and Bayley may forget a line or two. Now, now you threw me off because
that's fair. I think that's probably accurate, and
that's when she has problems.
Yeah, and she's better than Bret, by the way. I don't want to. Bret was a terrible mic guy, but my point is like that charisma is still there. I still want to see her. I like when she comes out. I love when she comes out to the ring. When she, I don't necessarily care if somebody is The Rock on the mic, right? People are different. What I care about is, does what you're saying sound believable? Does it sound like you actually care about the match? Does it sound like you're actually hyped? Does it sound like you want to beat this dude up, right? Or this woman up, right?
Are you getting the crowd in?
Are you getting the crowd into it, right? I don't necessarily care. I don't care if you're, like I say, if you're The Rock. I don't care. Yeah. Shawn Michaels wasn't a great mic guy, right? He was good enough. No. It's good enough, right? He wasn't a great mic guy. Looking at the time, I hung on every one of HBK's words. Looking back, though, his stuff was just okay. Yeah. It was better than Bret's, but it was just okay, So that's what I care about. So if there's one thing for her to improve on, it would be that. But Bianca would be in mine as well. If I would have Breaker and Belair. I love Bianca. That's my girl.
Breaker would definitely be in mine too. Like you said, just the way you watch him carry himself inside the ring, outside the ring.
Yeah.
He would only be able to sabotage himself.
Breaker?
Yes.
Yeah.
If he continued to wrestle like this for the rest of his life, it's really good.
Yeah.
If he gets better, it's scary good. That's man, like
he just looks like a world champion.
You're 25 and you are good.
Yeah. He just looks like a world champion. For me, he's very reminiscent of like when Randy Orton showed up. You knew Randy Orton was going to be a world champion at some point.
You could look at him and say,
you just knew. They have a look. Yeah. They have a look, right? Yeah. Breaker is very small. They're the total package. Yeah.
They're Lex Luger's.
Like, I could see... Fuck Lex Luger, man.
Oh, man.
I hate Lex.
Oh, wow.
I hate Lex.
Well, I think he's...
Every time I play TEW, I bury Lex Luger every single time.
I know you tried to. You tried to bury him with the Wildcats, but I saved him in the tag team.
It was the Power Cats.
The Power Cats.
It was the Power Cats, yeah. I booked Lex Luger as a feline enthusiast. The Power Cat Lex Luger, and he got over.
That tag team was good.
He got over. Yeah, Luger. It was, who was in that? It was Luger and Jeff Jarrett, I think.
No, I think it was like.
Oh, Jeff Jarrett's gimmick was no. Yeah, it was Jeff Jarrett. It was Luger, Jarrett.
No, it wasn't Jarrett. I think it was like Chris Hurst.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
I thought it was Bob Holly's gimmick, but Bob Holly's gimmick was that
he screwed Bob. I didn't care about Bob.
Bob Holly's gimmick was teaching Jeff Hardy how to drive.
Yeah.
Anyway, no. Yeah, I could see Breaker like. You could almost picture him in like a suit and tie with the world championship, right?
He could do so many of the classic heel gimmicks that is scary. Mm-hmm. So many of the classic face gimmicks.
Yeah, dude, it's not just heel. Yeah, no, he just has the look. Some guys have that look. It's but yeah, I don't think you can do a Pillars without including Breaker. Even though we haven't seen him on the main roster
yet,
you can't make a 4 Pillars. Say, okay, who's going to be a top star for the next 10 years?
Yeah,
and not take a guess. Yeah. It's a pretty educated guess there with Breaker.
You know the funny thing? I like him in NXT. I like him like actually staying in NXT.
No rush.
It was kind of like Adam Cole. I never wanted Adam Cole to come up to the main roster. Not because I don't think he deserved it or he could perform, but I feel like when you got guys like Adam Cole who could possibly come up and be an Intercontinental Champion, like a great one, you leave him down there in NXT, it only builds the NXT brand. And I think that's what Triple H was doing until Vince kind of got his hands on it. Yeah. He was building a powerful brand.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So if he leaves someone like Braun Breaker down there, you're going to eventually start to usher in even more singles guys, and you're gonna make that show a really powerful brand again.
But at what expense, though? Like
none.
Could you leave him down there for how long? Right? Like at some point, you got to bring him up.
For what?
Because NXT is still at its core. It's still your development
when you think about it. But when NXT was black and gold, and Triple H had it for the last 2 to 3 years. No one thought about that as a developmental except Vince McMahon. That was a show where WrestleMania weekend, that show was pulling WrestleMania.
But I think that's also because
they was killing.
But that's I think because they weren't necessarily pulling because it wasn't developmental anymore, right? You're pulling guys off the indies. Okay, so where are you developing guys from? Like where are you building your new Raw stars, your new SmackDown stars, right?
You're still building them on NXT, but that brand was still so powerful that it felt like its own thing.
How many of those guys from Triple H's NXT came up and were actual stars?
Actual stars. Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn.
Did Rollins didn't come from Triple H's NXT though?
Oh, Triple H NXT.
Neither did Zayn. Neither did Owens. Owens maybe.
The Street Profits, Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
Tommaso just got there. Johnny just got there.
And Tommaso is the Miz's sidekick.
But you also got to remember that Triple H, what he was building got tore down.
Yeah, I mean...
A lot of those guys got fired for no reason.
No, I hear you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed Triple H's NXT. It just was no longer developmental. And I'm okay with that, right? Like, I'm actually okay with Triple H saying we're going to bring in, this is going to be a more indie feeling promotion.
Think about it like this. How many guys are in the indies, well, in developmental, how long are you down there before you even get to SmackDown or Raw? Years.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with NXT. So Triple H got his hands on it for 3 years. That's the point of when these guys are now starting to get onto the main roster.
Yeah, that's fair.
If he would have had 2 more years,
maybe
who to say that even more of those guys wouldn't go up. Velveteen Dream, if he wasn't so sick and nasty, he would have been a top guy.
No, yeah, I mean, I get that.
Sorry,
I get that. I'm not knocking.
He's over.
I'm not, my man. Yeah,
he was.
I'm not knocking Triple H's NXT. I'm not knocking guys like Adam Cole and Gargano.
I mean, Keith Lee came from there.
Yeah,
Keith Lee,
but these are
did an
guys
amazing
that,
job on
that
the main
also are. I don't really know where I'm going with it, but I guess these are also guys who came from the indies. They were already kind of veterans, right? Like Keith Lee was a veteran when he got to. He may not have been a veteran of WWE in WWE's eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Adam Cole, he was a Ring of Honor world champion, right? Like these are guys.
But I feel like nowadays, except this last few batches that came in where they did the open. We're going to this college. We're taking all the best athletes come try out. You're still getting a lot of indie guys on NXT. You know?
The open tryout from like colleges and stuff.
Solo wasn't I'm just grabbing from the indies. He was I grab you from just come try out. He was killing the indie scene.
Yeah, he also comes from that family though. My man was WWE bound.
I mean, all right. So then Braun Breaker should be Braun should be on the main roster. How did Solo hit the main roster before Braun?
I mean, I feel like Solo was ready for the main roster. Like
Braun is ready.
Braun is, dude. I've said this before. Braun's ready for the main roster.
I know.
It just depends on.
I would have kept Solo down there.
I think Solo came because he fit that story. I think Solo was ready, and also fit the story of coming up to join the Bloodline. Right? It's because he got the Bloodline storyline. Okay. That's not a knock. He was ready. Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to keeping Breaker down and keeping guys down to NXT longer. My point only is that I don't care what NXT becomes or is. Raw and SmackDown will always be the major leagues. That will always be, and NXT will generally always be viewed a step below that, even if their shows are better.
And you know what's hard? Why it's hard to say that? Because 3 years ago, prior to AEW coming out. Oh, no, what? Soon as AEW came out, right? NXT was viewed as damn near the A show.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say that Raw and SmackDown will always be these shows. I know what you mean. They're the staples.
They're the shows.
They're the staples. But when NXT is pulling great ratings and it's considered the A show, I
don't think it was ever considered the A show, though.
It was.
People liked it.
It was considered what it was considered.
By who?
I mean, you have to go with the fans. You got to go on Twitter. You got to go with the bloggers. You got to go on the gram.
Yeah, but
you got to go on social media. That's where the people are.
Yeah, but I feel like that's not an accurate portrayal, though. Because
I got to go to the people.
Yeah,
who else do we go to?
But Twitter.
If I go to Vince, he's going to say Raw's always number one.
Twitter and Instagram are leaving off like at minimum half the people who watch wrestling.
I can only go with the people that I can talk to. If I go with I can't knock on each door.
No, I know.
If I go with the top people, right, and I go to a Vince McMahon, Raw's gonna always be number one, no matter what. Period. It could be
because it is the number one show.
It could have the lowest ratings, and they'll still say it's the number one.
That's my point.
But it's not. It's not. So at what point do we go off of stats? Do we go off of the fans?
Well, then at one point then do you? If what you're arguing then is that the talent on NXT is better.
No, I didn't argue that.
Well, then Raw is still the number one show. It just doesn't tell as good a story.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I said at what point do the stats and the fans of what they say matter? Because if the viewership is higher, if the fans say this is better, this is what I like, but you say, well, no, this show's been on for 30 years, 50 years. This is our number one.
No, I'm not saying that.
Who get to say it's number one?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's like.
I'll put Max in the hot seat.
Man, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, it's like, to me, that's like saying there are minor league baseball teams that could beat the Washington Nationals.
No. I'm not saying about. It's not a game. It's not a match.
But my thing, there are minor league teams that are better than the Washington Nationals.
Okay.
The Washington Nationals play in the major leagues.
Okay.
They're the major leagues.
That doesn't.
There's not a single player. Of course it does, because there's not a single player on that minor league team that doesn't want to play in the major leagues.
Okay. And you say that to say what exactly?
I say that to say that there's no NXT. If NXT is the developmental, unless your argument is it's not developmental.
Let's say your argument, right? Well, your mindset is always going to be developmental because that's what
it is.
That's what they said. At Triple H, it wasn't developmental anymore. I feel like that became a...
He took it away from that. Yes, I'll agree with that.
Okay. Now, your argument of... Well, your stance of the minor league and major league, right? So, how many ticket sales are the minor leagues selling out more than the major leagues?
I would...
Probably never.
Is NXT...
No,
never.
Hold on.
Never. The minor leagues are never outselling the major leagues.
Okay, now how many times is it where the minor league game is viewed more than the major league game?
Never.
Now, my point is that those were situations where NXT did that. So if it's a situation
when was an NXT pay-per-view?
I didn't say a pay-per-view.
What are we talking about?
NXT was on weekly. NXT was on USA. Raw viewership dipped really bad.
Did it ever dip below NXT?
NXT beat Raw a few times in viewership.
How many? And that's why I asked you though.
Okay, you have to pull up and really count, but they did.
Because a show here or there does not make it. The A show.
Okay. How about this? SmackDown beat Raw a lot.
Right.
So why isn't SmackDown the A show?
I didn't say it wasn't.
No. Raw is always considered the number one show, the A show, the
Raw is their flagship, right? It's their flagship show. What I'm saying is, I'm lumping Raw and SmackDown together, and I'm saying that Raw and SmackDown is the main roster, and it's the main roster for a reason. I don't care how good NXT is, and NXT is good. Don't get me wrong. I don't care how good it is. It's not the main roster. All those dudes in NXT, they all want to wrestle on Raw and SmackDown.
But I don't believe that either.
Well, I guess it depends if you're...
I say I don't believe it because of... I think a lot of people at one point in NXT loved the style and the freedom of wrestling on NXT versus having the wrestle... You know what I'm saying? Wrestling the main roster.
No, I get what you're saying. I guess what I'm trying to get
and
at
they were
is
getting
that...
paid superstars. So at what point... I'm not missing out on anything.
Yeah, but there's still a... I mean, we can go around it all day, but there's still... Raw and SmackDown are the main roster. They are the main roster.
They are the main roster.
And it doesn't matter if NXT shows are more entertaining for some people. They're not the main roster.
They're not the main roster.
Right? That's what I'm getting at.
But your main roster...
Why aren't you putting your main wrestlers then on your A show, NXT?
Well, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods are now the NXT champions. So they put one of their best tag teams to NXT. Dolph Ziggler, one of your top in-ring performers, was an NXT World Champion. So it's happening.
He's your top in-ring performer who was doing nothing on the main roster and hasn't for years.
The New Day went from challenging the Usos for
the New Day. I'll give you.
Now they're on NXT.
The New Day. I'll give you. How long are they on NXT for?
We don't know.
Right.
We don't know. But my point is, it's happening.
It has happened. It has happened.
We're in the sense right now where it's actually legitimately happening.
No, it's happening with a team. There's a team there.
Apollo Crews is there.
There's a team. All guys who were nothing on the main roster. All guys who were not being featured.
Apollo Crews went from an Intercontinental Champion, and then he went to NXT. You got... I can't argue. That's what he had. That's what he was.
You're telling me that
I'm just
Apollo Crews... You're telling me that Apollo Crews was killing it on the main roster.
All I'm saying is
was transferred to NXT to boost ratings because NXT is a great show.
Now you're trying.
Come on,
you're trying to add stuff. I said Apollo Crews was the Intercontinental Champion,
right? And how'd that go for
him?
Went
to NXT.
How'd that go? Did everybody love that? Was he an amazing Intercontinental Champion?
I did not like him. I did not like him as Intercontinental.
There you go. So you didn't like him until they shipped him off to NXT.
But if it's there, I go, and then I say rules, then all my other arguments I should win.
No, I'm just saying it's like. They're sending people to NXT that nobody wants to see on the main roster.
People love Mandy. Mandy went to NXT and killed that. Oh my God, before she went nasty.
Okay.
Nasty time. Go Mandy. Mandy made more money in 1 week than Drew McIntyre would make in 6 months.
Yeah, on OnlyFans.
I don't care.
It's not NXT paying that. See her. Yeah, naked.
Who cares?
I mean, you don't have to be a wrestler.
Like, how many?
Like, I want to see her ass too.
Don't you want to see her naked?
There are a few.
All right then. So I mean, what are we saying?
Tamina.
What are we? You got flat cakes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! Not to see her.
I get what you're saying. this is a lively debate, and I get what you're saying.
All right,
but we could go around all day.
All I'm saying is that you built
your
show.
listeners can chime in. They can throw their shit in the comments.
I'm just saying,
chime in and don't just agree with Cato just because it's his channel and I'm a guest.
No, look, I'm just saying,
say
you
what you
down
feel
there
and say what
and
you
build it, because you know why? At one point, you seen how great it could be when you build it, and you have 3 powerful brands versus just one powerful brand, one you watch because it's a flagship show, and one you watch because you like the young talent. Make 3 powerful brands, you know?
I will. The last thing I'll say is I think that there is clearly with me, and I think a lot of people are there. I think a lot of you mean Gunther. I don't know who Walter is.
Oh,
I never heard of Walter.
Gunther. He came up and dominated.
No, I think that there are a lot of people, because of what NXT was and sort of is, who will always perceive it as the junior brand, because that's sort of how it's presented. And I get that there are a lot of really good guys that are down there, and a lot of those shows are really entertaining. And dude, the WrestleMania that I went to when the WrestleMania was at Meadowlands, the NXT show was phenomenal. It was an incredible show, right? But I think that just because of what NXT has been and is, there will always be the perception that it's the junior brand, and guys that are on that junior brand are in developmental. Braun Breaker being one of them, right? He's the champion of the developmental brand. Even if Triple H doesn't view it that way.
You know what gets me? When developmental, right?
Right.
I feel like that's when you're developmenting guys, when you're teaching them, you're training them. And I think maybe that's the problem. I don't like the word developmental. So you got guys down there that
but NXT was developmental.
A long time ago. So long ago.
If that's the argument that you're going to make, I'm okay with that argument.
None of the majority of these guys aren't developmental to like get better or develop.
Because they've all been on the indie scene for 10 to 15 years.
But my point is, there has to be another show or another place where these guys are legitimately training.
Well, it shouldn't be on TV at all.
When I think of developmental, I think of guys who are kind of in training.
Yeah.
Who are like learning. So I'm like, why would NXT be developmental when you got veterans down there, wrestling veterans?
I think a lot of this, and we're gonna get our last 2 pillars in here eventually. We're gonna get them in. We're gonna get in before the show's over. I think the problem with NXT that has sort of developed, and it's hurt guys when they went to the main roster, is that development shouldn't be on TV, right? Your developmental
who did it hurt
shouldn't be on TV. I think it's hurt guys like I'll use Karrion Kross as an example, and I'll use that only because like they sort of changed his whole gimmick when he came to.
That's Vince being an asshole.
You know, but my point is that's because Vince is developing. Right, we're developing this guy, right? But my argument is, if there's a vision for this guy, Vince likes to debut people as debuts, right? But people have been watching this guy develop for a year now. They know who he is. So when you change his gimmick and bring him in, it hurts him.
All right, see, you want to know the funny thing about that? Is that in NXT, right? Before he got to NXT, he had a name.
Right.
Got to NXT, they didn't change much about him.
Right.
Gave him a cool intro, that's about it. When he got to Raw, I feel like out of spite, Vince wanted to change it just to say, "Oh, I can make it better."
I think Vince just did what Vince does.
Yeah, but
Vince doesn't view NXT. It's my point. Vince viewed NXT as development, not its own brand.
But that's my problem. I don't like that you essentially bring someone up, something that's working, something that's good, something that's over,
right?
And you change it not because to make it better, not because it wasn't working,
right?
And you just changed it just because you wanted to make it your own,
right?
When Karrion Kross came back, he's doing the same exact gimmick he was doing in NXT,
right?
And guess what? It's over.
It's working.
It's working.
It's working.
So Vince changing it to say he was developmental, no, he was over. You ruined it.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why if you're going to treat NXT as developmental,
that's why I don't think
shouldn't be on TV. You can make that argument that it's not development. That's not a true developmental.
Think it is. You can't say I'm bringing top indie stars over and I'm developing them.
No, I get that.
To what?
But then if you're going to make it not developmental,
I don't think it's development. That's why I think they're developing their younger stars off TV, like you said.
Then why bring people up? Leave them there.
That's what that was my point. I said, let's leave Braun Breaker on NXT forever and build a powerful brand.
Forever.
No, he can jump just like people jump from Raw to SmackDown. He could jump just to change the landscape. You're thinking about it as developmental.
You're right. We
I'm
should
not
send
thinking
Roman
about
Reigns
that.
to NXT. You're right.
You know what? If NXT becomes
NXT,
powerful
yeah.
enough, send his ass to NXT. I'm with it because if you're thinking just developmental, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about 3 powerful brands. It's no different than Roman Reigns going to Raw, Roman Reigns going to SmackDown, Roman Reigns going to NXT. If that brand, if you keep those guys there and develop it as a dominant brand, as a premier brand, which you can, because it's not like you're having rookies fresh out of 6 months of training come pop up on NXT. It's not the case.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's what it seems like when people say it's a developmental. Like, if anything you're developing, you might be having this guy come try out this new gimmick. Maybe. You might have someone like Joe Gacy, who's doing just fine on the indie scene, come out and try this new gimmick as whatever the hell he calls himself now.
Right.
But The Rock's daughter, you didn't see her in NXT until she popped up later. Mm-hmm. She's been in training for years prior to, so she was getting developed somewhere else. Now she made it to I don't even know what to call it, the show, I guess, the TV. But I don't think it's developmental.
I mean,
that's okay. Thing.
Okay, that's fair.
Now we gotta get the 4 pillars.
We got 2 more. We got 2 more. We got Bianca. We got Bianca and Breaker.
Bianca, Braun Baker, who should stay on NXT. Before we do that, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll jump right back into it. All right.
Cool.